Okay, so our final review for the day is going to be for the film Monkey Man. Monkey Man is the
Monkey
director.
Man.
Monkey Man, directorial debut of Dev Patel. People might know Dev Patel. He's been in things Slumdog Millionaire. He was in. That's kind of his big breakout. He's also been in things like The Green Knight. He was also in. Well, I mean, maybe he wants to forget this. Avatar: The Last Airbender. He was also in that.
I mean, that killed his career for a while.
Yeah, I mean, that didn't do well for anybody's career. At least he made it out. At least, at
Yes.
least, at least he's still doing some other stuff here. Like Monkey Man. And what is Monkey Man about here? People might see this trailer and get kind of John Wick vibes. I know we did watching the trailer when we kind of give a reaction to it. This is a Monkey Paw production here with Jordan Peele, who Jordan Peele helped put this movie in theaters. Initially, it was going to go to Netflix. It was going to be streaming, but Jordan Peele really pushed for this, really helped it get into theaters. So shout out to Jordan Peele for that.
Mm.
And I think it deserves to be seen in theaters. I think, and this story details a character called Kid. Simply, don't know his real name in this. Just goes by Kid.
Or Bobby.
Bobby. There it comes up kind of a fake name. He kind of comes up with this within the film. But it's a man on the path of vengeance here. He sees a corrupt India, and you see kind of flashbacks of his childhood, their trauma that he went through, and looking for a man in particular that he wants to enact revenge on. And I don't want to spoil that too much there, but he wants to enact revenge on a particular man there. But he sees all this kind of poverty, corruption, kind of going on within the police department, within the political world there, and he wants to kind of do something about that and enact his kind of path of vengeance there. Um, and we follow this character doing such things. You see, and Dev Patel actually does have a background in martial arts. There, he does do a lot of that, and he got really put through the ringer with this movie.
Yeah.
Broke his hand, he broke his toes for this film. There's a one point where this film even got shut down, and he pushed for it to still be made after that, and he broke his hand, but he fought with the other hand. So yeah, I mean, he really was. This was a big passion project for him, and I think it works. I think on a lot of levels there. I'm gonna pass it to Dust before I go on and give my other thoughts. Dust,
Mm.
what were some of your thoughts on Monkey Man there?
I thought the first half of this movie was really good. I thought you really could understand Dave Patel's. Definitely felt like a passion project of his. I thought his use of camera angles, his way of editing, the fun environments he was in, countered by the amount of poverty he was surrounded in, and his focus for revenge were all really good and strong. I liked all the actors in it. I thought they all gave great performances, and it's really strong. And then it kind of hits a moment where it gets in a bit of lull, and we're introduced to some new characters that we had not been privy to in the last 40 minutes or so. And the movie kind of just stops for a little while and kind of tries to tell almost a little bit of a different story before then coming back to the original story it was telling and concluding with a really great and bombastic fight scenes and just a really good build up of fight and music and choreography. But by the time we kind of get there, because of the that middle lull, I started wondering, well, I kind of want to know more about what actually led to all this really, and how this guy kind of fits in some of the ways this what he learns more of. And some of the characters from early on, they kind of get dropped by that point, and they're not really as relevant aside from like one character. And I kept thinking to myself, I don't know why he kind of did that lull in the middle, and why you wouldn't incorporate the characters from the beginning all the way through.
Mm.
What do you think about that?
I know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
Even though I do like that segment because it's like there's a segment of this movie where he kind of goes through like a training montage. He gets
Mhm.
stronger, he gets better there in this moment. And I like that moment. And that moment does show a lot more of his backstory and his
Mhm.
character, and it does a lot of developing there. And as I mentioned before, so when people watch this, and you could even tell from the direction of this movie, John
Mhm.
Wick obviously is a big
Oh
inspiration.
yeah, they
They
even name
even
drop it.
yeah, they even name drop John Wick in there. And for some people, their favorite Wick film is the first one. Why?
Mhm.
Because it has a little bit more of an emotional connection there with it. You know what I mean? Because of the situation of the revenge, and then he lost his wife and the dog, and he lost like it's a little bit more of a personal connection here for them because mindless action is not always an issue,
Right.
but it just depends on why that action is happening. That can give you a little bit more of a stronger connection there, and make you root for the hero more. And I think that the story here in something like Monkey Man is not just action, action, action. There's a lot of
Right.
good story here about the corruption of India,
Mhm.
about the class dynamics there. Um, you have kind of the segments of kind of you see the division between the groups of people here in this, and there's also like on TV you'll see the news reports of people being beaten in the streets, and you know what I mean, their land
Mhm.
being taken away and their businesses and their homes being taken away. They're just because people can, because they just have the power and authority to do that. And
Mhm.
so this whole kind of concept of the monkey man and this kind of folk hero, almost kind of like that,
The,
uh
Hanuman.
the Hanuman there that you have there, and the story of kind of what he kind of represents there, I think is very strong here. And that kind of makes you kind of care more about kind of the story, and not just like action, 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 action all the time there. Even though the action is impressive,
Mhm.
I think that is, but I do see the lull there, and I do see it is not handled the best way, and makes the movie feel longer than what it is,
Mhm.
because this movie's an hour and 53. It makes it feel like 2 hours plus, I think.
It also felt like it was beginning to tell it almost felt like another movie had entered this movie, and while I was mostly fine for what it was trying to say, I was kind of like, "You were already doing all that beforehand," and I'm more than happy to learn the backstory of the character. I've been waiting for that, but I was I was kinda wishing they had incorporated earlier characters into the later narrative, because by that point, it's like new characters kind of prop up, and we just kind of dump those characters to the side. There's like one character in particular that it looks like they're going to set up something with him, and after some certain point happens, they just kind of he's just only there as as kind of just extra.
Mm. Um, I feel like, there's some stuff like when you first see him,
Hmm.
and I'll get your opinion on this. You see
Yeah,
him as the Monkey Man when he goes, it's like wrestling, a bare
it's
knuckle boxing.
underground fighting.
Yeah, underground fighting there, where he plays a character, the Monkey Man, who is meant to be taking dives, meant to lose for the big, hero of the match and everything.
Right.
Um, and Sharlto Copley, who does good. Sharlto Copley comes in
It was
as
good to see him
yeah, always good to see him. It seems like he's having a little bit more of a career resurgence after District 9. He's popping up.
after Chappie. You mean?
Yeah, after Chappie too. I mean, yeah. So he's having a little bit more things there. He's popping up in. So yeah, it's always good to see Sharlto Copley there. And it seems like some things they were maybe going to do with that, but then
Yeah.
they didn't have enough time for.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. It It set up like there was going to be an entire side with that whole fighting ring, and that was going to build up the legend, or something was going to get incorporated into it, and it really only kind of gets used as a device. And I was wondering what if something got cut. This movie did feel like something got cut out of it, and something got replaced, or things got changed around, because there does seem to be certain threads that just kind of get left hanging, and don't really get put back together. And I don't know if it had to do with a production issue. I don't know if it had to do with a writing issue, or if this is just stuff on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. Maybe. Maybe that is the case there. They just, yeah, maybe stuff on the cutting room floor in there. But yeah, I mean, I did think that was kind of maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity, like I said, to build the legend of maybe that they were trying to do with the
Yeah,
Monkey Man persona
because
there.
at first he takes dives, and then by the end of it, he really shows his hidden crewing prowess. I thought that would kind of tie into his legend kind of being built. This mass individual.
Yeah. And then plus, I mean, even though that kind of doesn't make a lot with him coming back, I don't want
Oh
to
yeah, it
say.
makes no sense when after the events. This should have happened before what he does.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. I mean, I don't want to spoil. I don't want to say too much, but
Yeah.
like the way he comes back to that is like that should not happen. Like somebody should be ratting him out right now. But
Yeah.
um,
They could have taken that scene, put it earlier, then had it happen, then the lull happens, and then he gets bounced right back up. and then goes to the final finale if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
But I guess
Uh,
if they that might have been the original intent, but then they realized it wouldn't have flowed as well.
maybe. Maybe that is the case there. The action. Like a lot of people see
Mhm.
the action in this. Some people have complained about the kind of the shaky cam in this
Yeah.
that you kind of see. Didn't bother me as much, but there are some scenes like you do wish just hold the camera kind of still. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like maybe like there are some really creative things he does with the camera work here in the action scenes. Like there's even a moment speaking
Mhm.
about Charlotte Copley, like kind of a hardcore Henry type moment here. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Yeah, that scene right there in the trailer
Yeah.
right here where he goes kind of POV for a minute there. That kind of happens. So and then there's a scene where he's fighting in the wrestling match, in the bare knuckle fighting where he's fighting the
Oh,
huge
yeah.
giant dude, and then
Yeah.
there's some great camera work there.
The
Um,
Neanderthal.
yeah, I thought that was some good stuff. But then there's some scenes where it's kind of all over the place when it comes to the camera. And do you think that's like trying to like have the frantic nature of the fight there, or what's your kind of opinion on the
Mm.
shaky cam in this?
This movie is definitely this is definitely a love letter to a lot of these fighting movies. There's a lot of John Wick in this. There's some The Raid in this with some of the fighting. There's Ong Bak also in this. There's a lot of fighting and action in this. There's a lot of combinations, but I did feel like a lot of the POV kind of reminded me of Hardcore Henry, where especially when at one point he's being swung at with a weapon, and the camera is like bobbing back as if
Yeah.
you're the POV. And while I wasn't completely distracted by that, it did feel weird, and it did feel. There are moments in this movie where it does get downright experimental, especially when he has a certain vision, so to speak, on his we don't really want to go into it, but a vision quest kind of happens at one point, and it gets
Yeah.
kind of experimental.
Yeah. I don't know what gets blown in his face,
Yeah.
ayahuasca, or I don't know what gets, but yeah, he kind of goes on a little bit of a vision quest there, a little bit in this. What do you think about some of the villains in this movie there,
Mm.
and some of the other kind of supporting characters other than Dev Patel?
I thought the main guy he is after at first is what you learn about the background is serviceable enough. You don't really need to know too much about the guy. He's just kind of a corrupt piece of crap.
Hmm.
But then when this movie also hovers over another character who you really don't get to see where it's going to until later when that character gets revealed more on what they are. And I wanted to know more about that character and why he did the things he did specifically, because he's such a it's almost like he's a contradiction. He's like a walking contradiction because he believes these things. He seems to believe in like godliness and holiness and other things, but then he does certain things that are just, against that.
Mm.
And I kind of wanted to know, well, why specifically did he do the things that he did? And we never really get that. And I wouldn't have really, I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't have really even considered it if the movie didn't take that point to kind of get into a lull and start bringing those things up more and more, being more and more, a little bit more political about it, on the situations happening and what he is causing, what he's doing, and how that affects the people. And I wouldn't have really thought about it until the story brings it up more. And so I'm like, oh, if you're going to do that, then I kind of would like an answer.
Mm. I see kind of a little bit your point there. I mean, obviously, you don't want to spend maybe too much time there with the villains, and then
Yeah.
maybe take away from the hero there. But I do kind of see your point. But I just thought I don't know. I think it's maybe leaving up to like this guy, really just uses the religion to gather
I
the
mean,
people,
sure.
to do that, and then obviously maybe people go like, well, you've seen this type of figure before, so it's like filling in the dots, which is maybe a little lazy there.
Hmm.
Filling in the blanks, but which is a little bit lazy. But I could see your point there with that character for sure. But I mean, if you're coming for this movie, I mean, if you want really, great action in here, I think it does deliver even with the shaky cam.
Hmm.
I think but also there's also a priority to tell a really good story and tell really a good story and to, really deliver something that
Hmm.
is emotional and impactful as well with also the setting behind it as well. It's just not just action, 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 action scene after
Hmm.
action scene after action scene. And I think Dev Patel Like I said, this is a passion project for him, and he put a lot into this, and you can tell. I
You
mean,
can tell, yeah.
the stuff he went through to get this done, getting really ripped for this. Um, the amount of bones he broke for this, crawling on the ground, he got an eye infection, he's guggling, he's drinking water there, you know what I mean, that people stepped on and everything like that, and the big bathroom scene.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, you can definitely feel that in this, and you can definitely, I don't think after John Wick kinda came out, John Wick was one of those things that really was great for the film industry, in terms of action, in terms of, kinda like ushering
Mhm.
in this new wave here of a lot of action stuff. But very few things have been able to really replicate it well or do its own thing well. You can tell it has the kinda inspiration there, but also still do its own thing. The only people I think feel like they have done that is, like, people who actually directed the John Wick movies, Stahelski and, David, Leitch and people like that, who went on to do, like, Atomic Blonde and, other movies like that.
Mhm.
But then you have so many kinda things like, you have, like, Gunpowder Milkshake or,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, stuff like that. It's like, this isn't, as good as those things. But the moments here, this feels like, okay, it has those inspirations, but it's still its own thing. It's still really great and inventive with a lot of the action stuff it does there. And the needle drops in this movie, really good needle drops, I think too.
Yeah, the music was really good. There were actually some genuine, good use of, songs in this, and, I thought even the ambient actual soundtrack, there were some really good moments that added to situations, and, you know what? One thing I also compliment, I really enjoyed this first half of this movie because it was, it they really did a good job of reflecting on him, being, and having PTSD, and that this trauma, what happened to him, the horrible things that happened to him really did affect him so much that he has moments where he just has to get out of situations because it's so much in his mind at all fronts. And so you
Mhm.
understand that it really shows the level of anger and passion inside of him. And I think they did a good job of actually showing PTSD as something. It's not just, oh, I'm immediately going to freak out. It's a no, it's something that just happens,
Yeah,
and you just kind of got to deal with it.
yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, I think they do a good job showing that. He tries to work his way up to get to the main person he wants to kind of get at. You see this of like trying to get this money, doing these fights and then working these low level jobs. Trying to make his way through this to have a chance to get at his target. And he's seeing. I mean, he's like he's in a Diddy party. I mean, he's seeing all
Hmm.
this and going on, and he's just freaking out. He's like, oh, man, I just can't take this.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I thought that was kinda, really well done and real well handled there. I think the backstory stuff, because there's flashbacks that constantly come through. Maybe if they just did it right out the beginning, just show everything instead of trying to tease it all the way through the movie until
Yeah,
he has his, like, little acid trip. Maybe that
yeah.
would've been better.
I actually think if they had just started and it just had been telling us what had happened right from the front and then cut, and it's where he is, like, fight scene right where he is right now, and just see a man on vengeance, I think that actually, with some cuts of, like, what happened, as we, the audience, know and that he's experiencing, I think that would have actually fixed a lot of issues instead of, like, bits and pieces and teasing it.
Yeah, because I think that kinda takes away time from the movie a
Yeah.
little bit that you maybe
And
could have done.
especially when you know what happens, you're already, even with the when you don't fully know what happens, you're just like, "Whatever happened, I'm with you."
Yeah, I mean, I think you got a good reason there, man. I
Yeah,
think
you're
I
like,
think,
That looks pretty bad to me. You
you
do
know
what you gotta do."
I don't think there's gonna be, like, some crazy twist or anything like that where, as a
No.
small child, you started the fire or some shit,
Yeah, some yeah. No, 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 I don't think,
You know?
but, yeah, I think, it was very strong, or at least on that metric, but I think, yeah, if they put it, early and we just got it all right then and there, and then we just let the movie go from there, I think it would have had a much stronger throughput.
Yeah. So, final thoughts rating from you, man.
Uh, I had a good time. It did get, when the middle part comes up, I did actually have someone in the audience go, "What the heck? What the fuck?" And
Uh,
especially, yeah, and I laughed because I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be curious how the American audience treats that part, because we could talk after on that whole part, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing to put in your directional debut movie. And honestly, for a directional debut, I think Dev Patel has a lot of great potential. I think it's a strong movie. I thought the soundtrack is good. I thought his cinematography, for the most part, is pretty strong, aside from a couple of camera uses and a couple of shaky cam where I'm like, no, 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 just set the camera and let's go. I want to see this. I'm into this. Let's go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is a I'm gonna give this a strong tune in. This is a definitely go check it out at a theater. Is it the best thing ever? No, but I had a good time. This is definitely worth going to see to a movie theater.
Do you think it's better than maybe some people ask this question? Do you think it's better than John Wick?
No, this
Mhm.
is not better than John Wick. But of the John Wick copycats, this one has passion. And it's a lot, and something's going on here. He's trying to say something, whether maybe that this was the movie for it or not. You can tell the guy's passion here, even in the writing, even when I think his writing maybe isn't up to snuff or the plot isn't quite where I would like it. I can definitely see the passion there, and I think that changes a lot of things.
Mm, yeah. So you gave it I'm sorry, maybe I missed, what would
I,
be
I, yeah, this is a full on tune in.
tune in?
This is a tune. It's a strong tune in. Actually, I
Mm,
think this deserves it. My problems with the movie aside, and there are problems narratively, but I think the action scenes, the music, the cinematography, and just the bombastic nature of it are able to take it over.
mm, yeah. I think there's a lot to love about this movie.
Hmm.
Really is. And I think, like I said, you felt the passion from Dev Patel with this movie. You really felt that here, putting a lot into it. I think the action scenes are well done. If it had better camera work, I think it would have
Yeah,
been even better. And
yeah.
that's a shame that it didn't have the strong camera work there.
Hmm.
Because, you had movies like back in the day, like the Bourne movies, like the early Bourne movies where it was everything
Cut,
was,
cut,
cut,
cut.
cut, 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 and clearly he can do the moves. I mean, there's like the scene you saw in the trailer in the kitchen
Yeah.
where, there so he can do the thing. So it's like that was weird to me why
Hmm.
you had that in it. And that's such a shame. But when the climax happens, strong climax,
Hmm.
really strong climax, really well done. So that almost kind of makes up for a lot of the kind of some of the shaky cam stuff
And it
there.
really needed that by the end.
Really needed that by the end. So I think that was kind of really well done. So I think that climax is really good. The story that it's trying to tell here of like the other kind of political stuff coming in with the
Hmm.
India, coming in with the group of people that he meets there when he recovers and goes through, kind of like that's where you say experience the lull. Even though it is kind of a lull, I did like that kind of character
Hmm.
building and that character moment there where he processes his trauma there and you see his backstory and him kind of training, going through the
Hmm.
anime montage training montage there. I
Get that
did
monkey powers.
get the monkey powers there, you know what I mean? I kinda,
Wukong,
uh,
Hanuman.
I did like that stuff. I like that, there, and I like the needle drops here when they do the kinda I know that's kind of a played out thing action kung fu films, but of course you gotta have the needle drop and the big action, the kung fu scenes, but there's some songs that, you know
It
what I mean? Like, I wanna know the name of that song that played when he was there in that final battle there with the
Oh,
monkey
yeah,
eyes.
that's a great one. That's a really great, one. I'm gonna look up honestly, when the movie finished, I was listening to when some of the music that was playing after credits, I was like, "I'm gonna check out the soundtrack after this." There's some
Yeah,
great ambient tracks, and there's some good, I also like the track that he was doing when they were driving around, he and his buddy
yeah.
driving around. That was, like, a fun one too.
Yeah, because it's a good amount of different, songs here. You got
Sometimes
stuff.
hip hop, sometimes mixed with,
Yeah,
Indian type of music as well.
yeah, then you get, like, kinda old school rock, you got, like, White Rabbit who plays here, so, yeah, it's a
Mhm.
good mix of different I don't know if probably Dev Patel picked the playlist, but he's got some good taste in music, I like that.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think it kinda works on that level. Very strong movie, I'm eager to see kinda what he does next year. I think you do see a little bit of limitations from a directorial debut here,
Mhm.
but I still think, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what he does next. Is it better than John Wick? I think it's a better story than John Wick. I don't
Mm.
think action wise, it's better than John Wick. there because of kind of what they did.
Mhm,
But yeah, so for me, I would give it a strong tune in for me
mhm.
with this, which actually John Wick is it's his 10th anniversary. Actually, it
Yeah.
came out in
Can you
2014.
believe that?
Yeah, I didn't. Wow, that's that long ago.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
only feels like 5 or something years ago.
Yeah, and like you said, out of all the kind of the copycats of John Wick that we've seen before, of the influence that it's had on the industry, um, I think this is kind of one of the better examples of that. You know what I mean? Because the other ones like Atomic Blonde and Nobody, those were from the people that made John Wick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other stuff outside of that, it's like, like, well, Extraction was good. I'd say, would you count Extraction as like a John Wick?
I would actually.
Okay, Extraction was
It
good.
borders on it.
Yeah, then Extraction was also kind of good too. Extraction.
Even Extraction too, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, for me, strong tune in for Monkey
Mhm,
Man, and Dusk also gave it a tune in as well there for the film. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah. Did you think the trailer was a little bit, better? You think?
I did,
Okay.
honestly. There's actually a couple of moments in the trailer that is not in the film, and I always get annoyed by that, but it's a one of the things that, uh, minus the minor spoilers, but that white monkey mask doesn't stay on as long as I would have liked. I wanted him to
Mm,
beat people up with that white Hanuman
you
mask.
wanted to be like a superhero, Monkey
Yeah,
Man.
kind of. For at least for a
Oh,
little bit until gets ripped off.
okay. Yeah.
I think by that point he had kind of earned. He does it in the story wise. It's earned. I felt by that point it was pretty earned, and
Mm,
it felt like it kind of he had adopted. He had fully embraced not just being a monkey man, but almost having a mythical level placed upon him. He is now he's gaining strength from his legend.
yeah. I do like the mix of the Indian mythology that's kind
Oh
of
yeah,
brought
the
in.
Hindu mythology.
Yeah, the Hindu mythology is kind of brought in here. Yeah, which is nice.
There's a
Um,
lot of that's incorporated in this, especially in the middle part.
okay. Yeah, I do like that. So yeah, 2 strong tune ins for Monkey Man.